Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. It's a good morning for coffee, and it's a good morning to look at what Jesus has to say. We're looking through the Sermon on the Mount, and I've mentioned the mission of the church is to teach people to do what Jesus taught us to do. His best teachings are in the Sermon on the Mount. It's where they're all listed pretty much together. And we've been going through it. And so we're on chapter 7 today. This is what it says. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now that's pretty tough. Don't judge. That is, I find, one of the more difficult things that we have to do in Christianity. In fact, it seems to be just exactly opposite of religion. Because in religion, we're always judging, we're always doing things. But Jesus says, don't judge. And Jesus was a perfect example of that. The sinners felt very comfortable around Jesus. Women would come up and touch him, and that just wasn't done in his day. Tax collectors, publicans, all those folks would come and have dinner with him, and he would go in the marketplace and would be popular. People did not feel judged around Jesus, and yet he didn't sin. He was perfect, and yet he put people at ease wherever he was at. That would be an example that we need to probably follow. It is very easy to be judgmental. It's very easy to judge. And when we get into that mode, realize that we're being more religious than having a relationship with Jesus. Because he says, do not judge or you too will be judged. We have to understand that our church needs to be open for all kinds of folks, for different folks to come in. And that's essential. Jesus basically said that the church is for sinners, not for saints. And we forget that sometimes. But we need to understand that we desire everybody to come in. Not everybody's going to be perfect. Not everybody's going to be where they should be. And truth of the matter is, we're not. For look at what Jesus says. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. One of the reasons why we can't be judgmental is because probably all of us on this earth have sins in our own life. There was only one perfect person that walked this earth, and that's Jesus. Now, it gets really interesting. It gets very difficult when you understand our standard is perfection. But how we treat others is not as perfectionist and not as judgmental. One of the things that we have to do is understand relationship is how people change. Our relationship to God and our relationship to each other is how we change. I remember there was a church that I was at one time, and not the one I'm at here now, but we had a woman come to the church who, she was a trainer, and she was a really, really good-looking lady. And she obviously, in her line of business, she had to show off her body, so she wore clothes that showed off her body. She also had a teenage girl, and she dressed her daughter in the same way. Well, they came to church, they got saved. I baptized them. But they kept wearing that same wardrobe. And this freaked some of our people out. In fact, it became a deacons meeting for like 2 or 3 months in a row. And they were talking about, should somebody go talk to him? Should one of our ladies go talk to him? And they thought, well, Pastor, maybe you need to address it from the pulpit. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to be the clothes police. And my advice was, let's just calm down and just see what might happen. And you know what? After a while, I think they looked around and realized, hey, we're dressing different than everybody else in church. And, you know, they went and bought more modest clothing and wore more modest clothing to church, and everything was fine. But I think that's how we bring people into the kingdom. We love people into the kingdom. We're patient with people in the kingdom, and we're not so judgmental on people. We kind of need to get over ourselves a little bit. And I encourage you to have the high standard for yourself of perfection. But I encourage you to not be judgmental towards somebody else. And if you find yourself doing that, repent and all, because unless you've reached perfection, you really don't have any right of trying to judge somebody else till you've gotten that plank out of your own eye. And let me just give you one more thought as we're leaving today. When you put yourself in the place of judge, you're putting yourself in the place of God. That's God's job. There is going to be a great judgment, and God is going to judge us. But that's not our job. That's not our responsibility. God doesn't need any help with that. He's got that. Our job is just to love other people, and through our love and our relationship with them and pointing to their relationship to other people, we put them in God's hands and trust that they're going to change to be more Christ-like. Well, I hope if you've got somebody in your life that you're helping that way, and I'll pray for you today that will happen. And so you have a good day, and we'll talk tomorrow. Bye now.